Hi everyone, welcome to UTV Gooner and our show, The Shooting Lone Star with Ram from the Austin Gooners. Yes, bro. How are you? Long time.
Long time no see, man. Missed you. Missed our chats. It's been great, man. World Cup has been fun. Uh, Obviously, right, very weird to have it like in the middle of the season, but the fact that it happened during, the festive times, kind of made it more enjoyable, right? Like I get to work from home, so I like had, my laptop on the side with the little screen, just watching all the games, and um, it was great, man. It made Thanksgiving Day, extra fun, right? Because you got the family. I'm trying to get my parents or my dad at least into football. So like, that the fact that there was games on, I'm like, come on, let's watch. And USA played, Mexico played, so it was just a big opportunity to like just kind of grow the game a little bit, especially here in the States. Um, but as I was telling you before we went live, like I'm excited to kind of get back into club football, to Arsenal. Um, Austin FC just released their season schedule for the next upcoming season, so like there's a little bit of excitement for that locally. So yeah, man. I mean, football never stops; it never ends. Though I said a joke with a buddy of mine, like his girlfriend asked him like, "Hey man, when does soccer ever end? Like, what's the deal?" And we're just like, it never does. It's never ending. It goes on forever. And that's what makes it beautiful, man. It's just always on to the next game.
Yeah, it was great during the World Cup when, early stages where them 4 games a day on. So it was like throughout the day for us, like from 10 a.m. the first game was right up and through to 9 p.m. at night. 4 games in a day was really good. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's first time we had this Winter World Cup, but yeah, it was something different. It's a bit cold here. We've had some mad cold weather. Like it's been -5 for a good week in a row. It was like 7 days non-stop minus like 3, 4, 5. But yeah, no, it was nice. I think the tournament overall, it went well. We saw some really good games. We saw some upsets. We saw like early in the tournament, Saudi Arabia beating the eventual champions, Argentina. We saw Morocco have a great run in the tournament. Saw some really close games, and what a final! Like that, I've
Hmm.
never seen a game like that in any competition in a final. But to be in a World Cup, that was a really intense final. And just overall, I think it was a very good tournament. What are your thoughts overall on how it went in that final?
Yeah, my main thought was like, I knew it on some level because there was such a short turnaround from like the final game for a lot of the leagues, for most of like the leagues in Europe, right? Not It's not the same for like South American teams, because for South America they finished their season, they were kind of like off already, right? So teams like Argentina, Brazil, even like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, like those teams had a little bit of a buildup. Ecuador as well was in the tournament. USA, well, no, there was a lot of international players, but like for some of those teams, like the season was already over for a while, so they were able to build up, like kind of same thing in the summer. But for most of the teams, it was like the games, the club games ended on whatever, a Sunday, and then it was 8 9 days later we have opening games for the World Cup. So the quick turnaround, of knowing all that, like I had a feeling like it was going to be some chaos throughout the group stage, throughout the throughout the knockout stage as well. And that's kind of what we saw, man. And that's what I love about the tournament, is even regular times, like you're always going to get some chaos going on. But then as the tournament goes on, you see the teams with the big talent like really rise to the top, right? And so this wasn't any different, but I think the chaos was a little bit more chaotic than years past, because teams didn't have a lot of time to maybe gel like they normally would, right? And if it's in a summer tournament, season ends, as you say, like in May, and then you get, a few weeks for vacation if you need it. And then it's, right back to work, a couple of friendlies to build up, chemistry. But this one was like straight away, like 2 3 days, and then there was maybe a couple friendlies, and not everybody was doing friendlies. So, um, But with all that being said, I thought it was a great tournament. Some great upsets, a lot of a lot of players exploding onto the scene, if you will, and of course we got like the perfect final, right? That was the dream final leading into it. I wanted Mbappe is probably like my individually like my favorite player right now, like current like young star, versus one of the all-time goats, and Messi. So Argentina and France was just like the perfect final. It played out like amazingly. You know, gosh, it was incredible. USA, really happy to see like even though we didn't like advance far in the group stage or in the knockout stage, we showed like some progress and looked good, right? For the first time in like 8 years, we hadn't been in the World Cup. Mexico's kind of like on the opposite ends. Those are my two teams, right? U.S. Mexico. Mexico's kind of like on the downturn, and say is kind of like on the upswing. So it's going to be interesting to see how those teams respond with the World Cup coming to U.S. and Mexico and Canada in 2026. So yeah, it was great, man. I had a great time, and I'm sad it was over, but I'm also glad that it happened when it happened, because now we get right back into club football. Although moving forward, I would like to just kind of keep it in the winter and or summer, if you will, because it's just it works great in the summer. So we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah, for me too. Summer's better. The weather's better here, so you can do more things outdoors. There's that summer vibe as well. I just feel we were so used to having the World Cup in the summer, so it was
Mhm.
quite different, right? It was worked out right, but much prefer summer. Want to ask you now though, in terms of the Messi Ronaldo situation, do you think now Messi has sealed it as the GOAT, the better play between the two?
Yeah, man. I said this right afterwards, and I still feel the same way. I think it seals the deal and ends the debate. Um, because it's messy, man, for me, anyways. Um, Especially me personally, as I've grown to love the game and watch the game, I always would pick Messi over Ronaldo anyway. I think being a pure scorer is incredible, and he's easily one of the greatest scorers, like strikers ever, right? But for me, I have like a player that does a little bit more. Like, and Messi, is not a striker, right? He's a midfielder, or that. So that's he's more involved in the build up play and all that kind of stuff. And for me, that's what I like in terms of an attacker, right? So I've always leaned toward Messi anyway. And if you look at their resumes, like the Ballon d'Ors, you got the club club titles, you've got Champions League titles, you've got stuff like the Euros and the Copa America. Like they all have those trophies, and the only one that was left was the World Cup, and pretty much it was like this is both of their essentially, for all intents and purposes, like their last World Cup. So whoever won for me, like that's it. And so Messi, and then not only did one criticism that Messi got during Copa America, for example, was he got carried. Right, he didn't have his best tournament. I mean, he wasn't bad, but other players stepped up and performed. And and for this one, I mean, Messi did everything. I mean, he scored like I think in every level, right? He scored in the knockout stages. He scored in the group stages, right? And then he scored like in every knockout stage. He did something. And then in the final, two goals, man, and the penalty, like he was everywhere. And so and he held off freaking Mbappe, man. Mbappe had himself an incredible tournament. He's next in line and something I read somewhere, but I felt the same way. Like Messi could retire today and he would still be considered one of the all-time greats just because of what he did on Sunday. Um, Obviously, you wouldn't where you rank him is would always be an argument, but I mean, he's already done a lot of shit in football. So, but yeah, back to the original question. Lionel Messi is my goat. Um, that the best I've seen in my life. Ronaldo, great, but I'm picking Messi.
Yeah,
What do
what's
you?
great about Messi as well is that you see how he's evolved his game.
Yeah.
Now, as he's got older, obviously he hasn't got the pace that he used to have. So he's dropping a lot deeper than he would when he was playing in his younger days, and he's able to really pick out a pass. Like you see his ability to make chances for other players, some of the assists he gets. I don't think Ronaldo's really got back to his game, and as he's got older, he's just been more of an out and out striker, more of a box player, to get the goals. Whereas he's managed to keep a really high level. I know he's a little bit younger than Ronaldo now, but I'd say you can see Ronaldo's more of a decline. Whereas Messi, that his performances in this World Cup were unbelievable. Ronaldo, unfortunately for him, it got so bad that he even got dropped from Portugal,
Yeah,
during the tournament. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to compare them to. They both got great attributes. A lot of arguments for Ronaldo's case is that he's done it in different leagues. Messi's only now just gone from the Spanish league to the French league, whereas in Ronaldo's case, he'd done it in the Premier League, done it in Spain, done it in Italy. So that was one of the arguments. But in terms of resumes, now having the World Cup for Messi, like that's just capped it. So they both won everything that's possible in terms of club trophies, individual awards, and Ronaldo also did have a European Championship. So that kind of gave him a little bit of an edge having a major international competition winners medal, But now that Messi's got the World Cup, I think for me as well, that settles it. He is now not just in terms of player ability, but in terms of his CV and what he's
yeah,
achieved, the greatest of all time in our generation, without doubt.
yep.
For me,
I'm
so
gonna roll with that. I agree, man.
mm.
That's it.
So let's talk about
Done.
one of our great players. He's just going to get better and better. He's still very young. We hope he can go on to achieve some of the things that the likes of Messi and Ronaldo have done. And the way he performed in this World Cup, I'm very confident he can. He was outstanding. Saka, our guy, what a World Cup he had. Throughout the group stages, played really well, got the goals, was really heavily involved in all the good play that England had during that group phase. And then in the knockout stage as well, against Senegal, played really well. And then against France, who we know are a very good team, they made it to the final. That was a very close match. And we had so many great players on the pitch from both sides, including Mbappe, who we know is like he's the next superstar after Messi and Ronaldo. But on that day, Mbappe was very quiet. And the best player on the pitch by far for me was Saka. I thought he had an outstanding World Cup and an outstanding game against France. What are your thoughts on this tournament?
Yeah, man. Just to start like with that France game, a lot of the reactions I read on the game, like a lot of people were very upset that Gareth Southgate took off Bukayo Saka, right? Because he had his defender in hell. I think it was Hernandez. Um, yeah, that's what I noticed. Man, why are you taking him off? Like he's your most dangerous player out there, and Saka is like, yeah, that's my boy. I love him so much, and um, he doesn't necessarily always get the number stats, but what I mean, he does is that as well. But then at the same time, like I think what makes him really dangerous is not just the goals and the assists, right? But just he's just relentless on the attack, and he still drops back and defends as well, and so he's just constantly on the go. And yeah, I echo your feelings, man. He had a wonderful tournament, and I think he would have continued to shine in my little group of people. We did like a bracket and things like that, and I was gonna pick him as the best young player. Like that's the guy I picked. I was like, Bukayo Saka's gonna do it, and I think if England would have advanced and kept advancing, um, he would have definitely been in the running for best young player. Uh, Inevitably, I think Enzo Fernandez for Argentina, who deservedly had a great World Cup as well, ended up winning. Um, but Harry Kane, bro, Harry Kane did the Tottenham thing and just ruined everything for the rest of the team and Bukayo Saka, man. But incredible tournament by that kid, man. I hope we can just get him signed sooner than later, because yes, bro, he's the one, and he's gonna be amazing to watch. Especially he's so young, and he's just only gonna get better. Like he hasn't reached his peak yet, so that's coming, man. I cannot wait to continue seeing him thrive.
Yeah, for sure, bro. We need to get him tied down to that long-term contract. There's
Yeah,
a lot of talk about it. It's not happened yet, but we must get him signed up 10 years,
Yeah,
Whatever money it takes, give it to him. We need him tied down to that long-term contract.
yeah. Give him ownership of give him like a 1% ownership of Arsenal. Like I don't even care, whatever it takes. Like give him something. That's what like a lot of I don't know if they do that in like in football, but like in US, like sometimes you'll see like the big names like Tom Brady, LeBron James, like all these guys, sometimes they'll put it in their contract, like they'll get like a small piece of ownership stake, like a percentage point or something like that. In lieu of like getting like salary, like sometimes they'll cut back on the salary and just say, look, we're gonna give you long-term ownership or whatever. Like that money will be it's like stocks, right? Stock options. So yeah, whatever we got to do to keep him, man, because I want him. I want him in an Arsenal shirt for his whole career. Same thing with like Martinelli and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, so yeah, Saka, Martinelli, Saliba, them three really key. We get them tied down to long-term contracts.
Oh
Hopefully that
yeah,
happens soon. I don't think they do that similar concept to what you're saying in America here. I've not heard of any contracts where players have had ownership shares or given to them, but could be an option. Saying
yeah.
yeah,
Who
yeah,
knows?
like I say, whatever it takes, we need to get them three signed up. So sad news. Really upset me related to the World Cup in us is the situation with Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah,
I was so disappointed when I saw the news. I just could not believe it. I was like, oh, like you at first you're thinking, okay, if he's injured, it might be a minor knock. He's out for a couple of weeks. But then the news came through that it's something more serious than that. It needs surgery, looking at around 3 months out. It's been 2 weeks now, so looking at still another 2.5 months out. It's a major, major blow for us. So disappointed. He's been so pivotal to our performances this season. He's made such a big difference coming into the team. We're not going to have him now for the next 2.5 months at least, they're saying. So there's been a lot of talk about us possibly going into the transfer window to get a striker. What's your thoughts on the whole situation?
I think from what I've read so far, like the very little I've read into it, um, there's like a couple ways we can go about this, right? Like I think we already had a plan. Like we've always had a plan, right? It's become more apparent the longer Arteta and Edu have been in charge. Like there's always been this roadmap, right? This plan of what they want every kind of summer and January transfer window. And I don't think that we should deviate from that plan. Like it looks like that kid Mudrik is a big target. And I forget like a couple other names, right? They're kind of escaping me right now. But like, we want to get like wingers and maybe, a midfielder, right? To kind of, provide some backup for Thomas Partey and like Xhaka. And I think we should still do that. I still think we should like continue on what we wanted to do because on one hand, like we got Eddie Nketiah. And I know a lot of people don't trust him still yet, and I get it. But now like this is kind of essentially what we signed him for, right? To be the backup striker, to step up, and when you're called, and he's going to have his opportunity. And I feel on one hand he should get his opportunity, but I, with all that being said, yes, like we should stay the course. We should give Eddie Nketiah a shot, but I still think we're going to miss a striker for the next 2 months. I'm thinking, maybe we can try and maybe get somebody on loan because I think it's going to be very difficult to try and pull a striker and maybe sign them long term when we're already saying like, hey, we've got Gabriel Jesus long term, we've got Eddie Nketiah long term. Like, I don't know how difficult that'll be to pull in a big name or just a name, right? So maybe we can get somebody on loan to kind of help out to kind of finish it off. Like, it's been a while since we've actually pulled somebody in on loan, right? The last guy was Odegaard, right? So, um, yeah, striker is obviously a very important piece, and you've seen like how dangerous we were, when we didn't have a striker, but then also like our drawbacks, and then how much different we were with the striker like Gabriel Jesus. Even though he hadn't been scoring, he was like, you know, he changed our attack, and I think we're gonna definitely miss that. Like we can't just replicate it. Like Nketiah is not the same kind of player, but I still think that he could provide something to this team. And he said it in interviews, he said it in the past, like he just wants a chance. And then if he can't do it, well then fair play. Then you can judge him. And I think right now, the chances he's been given haven't necessarily been consistent. He maybe get like what 15, 20 minutes a game, not really enough time to kind of build that rhythm. And he's asked for it and he's got it, right? I think now he's got it. I think we should give him a shot. I understand if like half the fan base is like, man, we don't trust him, whatever, like fine. I kind of trust him. And I want to see what he has to offer. And I think I don't want us to panic. I don't want the front office to panic. I understand us as a fan base panicking or not panicking or whatever, but I think we can still I think competing for the title is going to be very difficult to begin with. And I don't want us to jeopardize long term just because we're trying to like compete for the title, if that makes sense. And not to say that I don't want us to like make that push. I think we should, but we it's a very delicate balance is ultimately what I want to say. Like you gotta find that the right player, but I don't want us to do like the end of summer when we ended up, seeing El Neni get hurt and we're like placing like 5 bids for Douglas Luiz, right? Like I don't want us to get desperate like that. Like I want us to hopefully we have a striker in mind that maybe we're going to go after in the summer, and we're just like saying, all right, fuck it, let's see if we can get him on loan and then maybe sign him in the summer or whatever, Like I don't want us to like say, all right, let's not go after the pieces that we already had earmarked. I want us to like get the players continue building up because we definitely need a strike now, but we also need other pieces to continue the building blocks. So we'll see, man. I mean, I might think something completely different in a week from now when if Eddie Nketiah doesn't do shit, but I still want to kind of see him in the main role and see what he's got because now he's been asking for chances. Now he's going to get them. What is he going to do with them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we saw when he came into the team at the back end of last season, and he done really well against Chelsea. He had a run in the team, and he was doing well. So this is another opportunity for him. We've backed him with this contract we're giving him. So this is opportunity now. Got to back him. Hopefully, he can do well. In terms of looking at the squad situation, where if he was to get injured, that would leave us really light in that striker department. So that's why there is, calls that maybe we should look into the transfer window. It's a difficult one, like you say, because we have that long-term plan. We've seen how we've been doing so well in the transfer market the last couple of seasons with that long-term plan, getting the right players in, the profile player that we've been looking to get in, younger players. So I see what you mean about don't really want to panic and try and get that quick fix or like overspend on a player that you weren't really wanting to get. I mean, you don't know if he's going to adapt to the Premier League as well. It's a really tricky one. I was speaking to someone before you, one of the videos I've done earlier today, and he was quite keen that there's an opportunity to get possibly Cristiano Ronaldo on a 6 month deal. He was saying he's a free agent at the moment. He's someone that we know, even though he's not as great a player as he used to be, he still will put the ball in the back of the net. He's able to score goals. He feels that that would be an ideal solution for us in this situation. Something short term. I said to him about the whole situation with him and Man United and how he left. And he can be disruptive. We've seen that in the Portugal team as well. There's had some issues there. They dropped him, and he was like, for a 6 month period, maybe it should be okay. He hopefully wouldn't affect that, the team dynamic we have. There's an argument that learning from a player of that quality would be good for the squad as well. So, I see what you mean in terms of a short-term fix. But what did you think about that option, possibly?
Um, nah, I don't. Maybe if he didn't do the whole like Piers Morgan interview and did all that and really flame out on the World Cup, I just don't that because that's exactly what I was saying. Like I don't want like a guy like yes he can score goals, yes he can. I mean theoretically, right? Like he hasn't really done it the past year or so, but like look what he did to United. I mean, before they signed him, United finished second. Maybe it was fluky, maybe it wasn't, but then they brought him on and they actually got worse. And then this year was just like it's been a mess. And there you can't just attribute it to him, but he's got to be part of the puzzle. So like if we bring him in, like is he going to demand the armband? And how is that going to like affect someone like Odegaard? Is he going to demand starting? right? Like, what does that mean to like, I saw some of that interview and he was throwing players under the bus because he said they didn't work hard or whatever. Like what is he gonna like? I just don't want us that kind of attention to be brought onto this team. Part of me likes the idea that we're kind of still surprising other teams around the league. Wow, Arsenal. Like if we brought Ronaldo on there, it's like, all right, now it makes us the favorite, but it makes us the favorite to also like fail as well. So it's like, all right, um, trophy or Premier League or bust, right? You know what I mean? Like, so it does raise the stakes, but and he could. It's for me, it'll be just a big hit or miss, and I think that's just a huge gamble that I don't know. I don't want to see like. I feel like everybody enjoys playing right now, and everybody plays with a certain joy, and I don't know exactly what adding him would do to that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, for
he's a
sure.
great player, right? But who knows?
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely. That's what I was saying to the guy that was suggesting maybe it would be a good option for us. There's positives to it and there's negatives. And when it's like that, you're not really too sure how it's going to work out. And the way our team dynamic is right now, you can see the players are really united. They're playing for each other. Do we want to bring someone like that in? It's not ideal. As many positives as he has. And, you can say that many of our players will learn from him being a legend of a player that he is. But the negative side, I think when you look at it, outweighs the positives, especially because he's on the decline. There's no doubt about it. He's not the player he was. We've seen that these last couple of seasons at Man United. We've seen that with Portugal as well. That for Portugal to be dropping him halfway through the World Cup, that tells you a lot. So yeah, I don't think that's a great option, me personally. But we all got our opinions. This was just something that he thought, and some other people have been saying. We've been hearing a lot of people are saying that possibly that would be a good option. But yeah, for me, I agree with your opinion on that. I don't think it is the option. I hope we can strengthen, maybe even if it's not a striker, I just want to see us get someone in just to add that squad depth because we do have a lot of games coming up. It's going to be a condensed Premier League schedule after the World Cup. We've got the FA Cup coming up soon, the Europa League, a lot of games. So ideally, we'd get 3 players. Yeah, we always say the ideal world would get a backup striker, backup winger, backup CDM, but that's not going to happen. We know that realistically. So if we can get 1 or 2, I don't mind what position, but if we can just strengthen up the squad, that's going to help us a lot with all the games we've got coming up. Yeah, so as we know, January is always a difficult transfer window. Let's see what we can get done. We've got to really give credit to our recruitment team, to the scouts, to Edu, Arteta. They've done an amazing job in the recent transfer windows. Some of the ones have been amazing. Let's hope we can have 1 or 2 players in, as I said, that would really help us. But we've got to trust the process we've been on.
Yeah,
As you said, got this plan, this strategy's there. We know that we've seen it, but identifying the type of players that they want to get, the profile player, and we're seeing it in the team, the kind of players Arteta wants. So if that's not available in January, like last January, they said they couldn't find anyone that suited that profile. They didn't go for anyone in that case. The same might happen this January, but it would ideally help our squad and our title challenge if we could get 1 or 2 in. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how January goes. So yeah, let's talk now a little bit about the season so far. So it's been amazing. Been doing the weekly shows with you through the season. We've been like, let's take it game by game. We just kept on winning and winning. We've only had 1 defeat in the Premier League, and even that one, we were really unlucky. We played so well. We should have at least got a draw there, if not won that one against Man United. And all our wins have been well deserved. The only one you'd say was a little bit of a lucky side was the one against Leeds. But again, that showed great determination from our players. When we're not playing at our best, we still managed to get the win. And then we had that draw against Southampton. Again, we were really good in that game in the first half. We started well. They pegged us back in the second half, but we still managed to, hold on for the draw in that game. So we've shown great resilience in the performances have been unbelievable. As I say, we've deserved our wins. Apart from that Leeds one, you would say we've really played so well in all our wins, and it's been dominant. The way we've been able to go to teams, shut them down, like they've barely had chances, and we've just dominated games. You start from the start against Crystal Palace. You look at Brentford away. You look at Chelsea away. Wolves, where there's a lot of pressure on. We knew Man City had lost, and we had a great chance to take advantage of that situation before the international break. We've gone to Wolves, shut them down, got the 2-0 win. And we've been looking like a team of champions. Like to way we're not just winning games, this way we managed to win the games. So dominant away from home. We know it's really difficult, but we've gone to these difficult grounds and just shut down the teams. Remember the Chelsea game? I don't remember really having a shot on target in that game. You know, we could have won that way more than 1-0. So it's been amazing. But for the defensive side of things, our attacking plays, we said we've seen many players contributing to the goals. Where that's like with Gabriel Jesus, he's not got as many goals as he might have hoped for, but his overall contribution to the team has helped others to flourish. We've seen the goals that Martinelli's been getting, Saka, Odegaard, even Xhaka in his new role. He's been getting goals this season as well. So it's been amazing. Brilliant, brilliant start to the season for us. So just want to get your thoughts on how it's gone so far for us.
Yeah, man, it's been a dream start. Even stepping away, because of the World Cup, and then coming back to it, and then just kind of doing reflecting, and that's what a lot of like the stuff I've been reading and like podcasts I've been listening to has just been like saying, taking a pause and reflecting on like what's going on, and um, yeah, it's been amazing, and I don't want it to end. Um, I always been saying this, like inevitably, like it's like a roller coaster, right? Sports is, and there's always going to be ups and downs, and you got to be ready for everything. And like I don't want to experience the downs, even though I feel like that might happen. Who knows? Like um, this is part of the unknown, right? Like we've never cut the season off to do a World Cup and then asked everybody to come back and continue the season, right? And from a mental standpoint, I think that's where it's going to be. Like it's not like they were playing a ton of games during this month, right? Like so I don't think it's the physical thing that's going to be a challenge. It's just going to be a mental thing. Like I think if the season continued to go right, and we played what maybe 4 or 5, 6 more games in the past month, like who knows where we would have been in the table, right? But one thing I'm worried about, I think moving forward is can we sustain the great start that we had, because we were on a roll and we almost didn't want it to stop, and we knew it was. And so it's like, all right, hopefully everybody can come back, refocus, and continue the push. Um, Given how everybody kind of up the right back, like every time somebody was eliminated from the World Cup, you read these reports like, oh, they're right back into training, right? Xhaka and Thomas Partey, for example. Tomiyasu came back, although he's kind of hurt or whatever. So, Bukayo Saka featured today, and Gabriel Martinelli today, and like that behind closed doors. We had like a friendly with some team, Luton Town. Like it was just a friendly behind closed doors, but like everybody got a chance to play. Like everybody's kind of moving forward and pushing forward. So hopefully, those fears can go away after this first match. Um, yeah, but it's been an incredible journey so far, and I kind of want it to keep going.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's gonna be
Mhm.
very different, like this season, as we said all along, that this big break, never been this big a break, like in a season. But normally an international break would be for 2 weeks. And we know sometimes after the international break of 2 weeks, it can affect a team's form. So with this one, it's been a very long break, 4 or 5 week break. So as you said, it's going to be really important that we get straight back into it, pick up where we left off, hit the ground running. Let's hope we can do that. Before we talk a bit more about our next game coming up against West Ham and the rest of the season, just want to get a few more of your thoughts on the season so far. So next question I wanted to ask you is, for you, what's your favorite win so far that we've had?
Favorite win? That's easy, man. 3-2 against Liverpool, like in first couple weeks of October. Um, as I've said, like as long as I've watched Arsenal, like as that's my team, or just league like closely, Liverpool's been the team, like the team I want us to like strive to be. And especially after last year, we played them 4 times in all competitions, scored 0 goals. Um, and I always, I almost felt like I was like just kind of reaching for something to be positive about when like I was even saying positive things about, hey man, I know we lost 4-0, but like the first 60 minutes, like we did great. And then the next time we played them in Premier League, we lost 2-0. And I was like, but the first 65 minutes we did great. And we went from 4-0 to 2-0. And I was like, boom, next year it's gonna be different. And so I just remember leading up to this game, like so nervous because I was like, this is what I've been building up in my head. Like we went from 4-0 to 2-0. And I was like, I want something, like I want us to win this game. And the fact that we scored a goal within the first minute, like I still remember, like I'll admit this, man. Like during the World Cup, like I've watched a lot of, you watch like a lot of stuff on YouTube, this and here and that. Like I've watched that first minute of that Liverpool match, like probably, I'm exaggerating, but like 100 times. Like just watching the build up and just seeing like how we just came out and just came out on the front foot and just it was a whole another team and we asserted ourselves from the jump. And I don't know if you, I'm sure, yeah, you know who Peter Drury is. Like he does all the Premier League games for like NBC. So whenever like the games go on, like we hear him talk and he did that game and his commentary during the game was just like the way he sets the table. Um, and then the way the goal happens is just incredible. And then the way the game ends and the way he kind of just describes how awesome the win is, like that for me is going to continue to be one of those wins that I will never forget, regardless of how the season turns out. Like kind of like last year, like I know we missed top four, but the game winning goal that Lacazette had, I mean, against Wolves, even though it's an own goal, I give it to Lacazette all the time. I'm never going to forget like how exciting it was for that. And like for this one, it's just beating Liverpool, taking Liverpool's best shots and still like coming out on top. And you can say whatever you want, like you can give Liverpool every excuse in the book. They're injured, they're not doing this, but still they had the mental edge over us for so many years. And this was kind of us saying like no more. Like we're here, we're gonna punch back. And not only are we gonna punch back, and we're not gonna take moral victories, we're gonna go, we're gonna win. And we won. And that for me is remains my that's my favorite win, like for a while, like of all time still. Like that even not just this year, but like that's top five for me as a fan, just watching that. Like that's amazing.
Yeah, it was really important win for us. It was a
Yeah.
real test for us. We know Liverpool and Man City have been the dominant teams in the Premier League in recent times, and we hadn't beaten Liverpool, as you said, in so long. Like the last time we beat them, it was during the season where they won the league, and that game was after they'd already won the league.
Yeah.
And that was a strange season where we had the COVID playing behind closed doors games and stuff. So they weren't really up for that game. You would say it wasn't that important for them to get the win, but this game, both teams, were going for the win, needed to win. It was very important for both teams, and we came out on top. So yeah, that was a very, very important win for us. So the next question I was going to ask you is, what do you think has been the most important win? You might that one, but yeah, what do you think has been the most important win so far?
Actually, yeah, I had to think about this one a little bit when you brought it up because I wanted to not just say that one because I've already kind of talked and waxed poetic about that one. So I'm gonna go different. And I'm gonna go with two games just because the results are the same. But a week later, we played Leeds and won 1-0. And then the other one is November 6th when we beat Chelsea 1-0. Like, and the reason why, like, I feel like those two are working tandem is like, and very important wins was they were not the Leeds one for like I'll start with that one. It wasn't a pretty win. It was almost like it was the game after it was 2 games after the Liverpool one, right? We played Bodo Glimt, right? And then the next Premier League game was Leeds, but it was ugly. It was you could make the argument that we didn't deserve to win. Like Leeds played better in the second half, but we held on to win, right? So that's like a 1-0 ugly win. That's just they're not always going to be thrilling 3-2 wins, and they're not always going to be thrilling 3-0 wins or something like that. Like sometimes games are going to be ugly, and I felt like that one was just really it really showed me something because I was like, and that's the game where there was a like outage, a power outage, so we had to like basically start the game over. So it was like a 30-minute delay, and so we overcame that. The weather was ugly, um, and it was at Leeds, so it was just kind of like very nerve wracking to see that win happen. And I felt like you learn a lot from ugly wins, and then to see us same situation, ugly weather, away from home against Chelsea. Um, you would think like, oh, okay, like this is another one. Like same old Arsenal is going to end up losing this match somehow. Um, Aubameyang's there. Like the stars were aligned for it to be like Aubameyang scores a game winner. Like the banter is going to be crazy. He did that nothing personal video right beforehand. But then we came in there and we just shut him down, and we forced them to forced their coach to like bench him, right? Because he wasn't doing anything. And they didn't have really any shots on target. We could have won 2-3-0, but the 1-0 win was just like a pretty win. So it's just like an ugly 1-0 win versus put up against a pretty 1-0 win. Like we dominated, right? And so I'm gonna say those two are like very important because they just like you can kind of like the results are the same, but the way the game played out was just different. So I bet you can look at that and just be like, look, we can win ugly, and we can win a 1-0 game where we just dominate. And like, yeah, Chelsea had nothing to say after that game. Like, there's nothing you could say like, oh, I got lucky, yada yada yada. Like, nah, man, like we dominated. So I feel like those wins are like important. I mean, you can also argue again. I could probably have just said the same thing. Like Liverpool, that game's important, but just to kind of go different. Like, okay, like these games for me stick out in my head when someone asks me like, give me important wins. I was like those two, man, because like we reached deep down and pulled something out.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, bro. There's been many games this season that you could say has been an important win. You could start right with the first one against Crystal Palace. After, we lost there 3-0 last season.
Yeah,
Also the fact it was a Friday night game, first game of the season. We know what happened to us against Brentford last season. So that was a really important one. There's been many really important wins for us. So yeah, we all got our own favorites and our own ones that we think were the most important. And yeah, for sure, the one, two you say there were very important wins. And it's been amazing that we've been this consistent and we've got so many wins. Like, just so I love looking at the league table and just seeing all them W's next to our name,
yeah,
and
it's great, man.
5 points cleared. You see the gap between us and City, and then below City, there's a gap down to Newcastle and the rest of them. Like, we're at 15 points ahead of Liverpool. What a feeling
Yeah,
that is. It's amazing. So what I wanted to ask you, just touching still on the season so far, is it's so great to say this to you that our main rivals are Man City. When we started the season, we were talking about top four main rivals. We're looking at the likes of Chelsea, Tottenham, Man United. We're saying that Liverpool and Man City are going to be a bit too far ahead of us, a bit too good at the moment for us. We're trying to get to that level, but where we sit now, got to say, Man City are our main rivals.
yep.
It's so far ahead of the likes of Liverpool, Tottenham, Man United, Chelsea. So brilliant to say this. They are our main rivals. We know what a great team they are, but looking at how they've progressed so far this season, I feel they looked really shaky, especially when few games before the international break. Very lucky, I thought, to beat Leicester. That was a tight game. They got the 1-0 win there. Super lucky to beat Fulham. I don't think they deserved to beat Fulham. They were so lucky. That penalty, really debatable if that was a penalty at all. So they got that lucky 2-1 win, that one. And then after that, the last game before the international break, lost 2-1 to Brentford, and deservedly so. Brentford, for me, were a much of a better team and deserved to beat them. So they've looked a bit shaky. We know we've had good moments. We've got Haaland, he's been banging in a lot of goals, but they've looked a little bit shaky to me. What's your thoughts on them?
Yeah, man, exactly. Yeah, I didn't really, everybody is saying like, oh, Arsenal is, can they sustain it? Like, Man City, like, can they keep up with Man City? And fair questions, right? But like, it's not like Man City have been like just invincible this year, like in other years, right? Like, there was that one season they won the title where they just racked off like a bunch of wins and just never lost, and or got draws, wins, and yeah, didn't lose any points or didn't drop that many points. Just ran away with the league when they were at one point like maybe fifth or sixth, and it's like maybe who knows what they end up doing, but like they haven't looked great, and we're 5 points clear of them, right? And I still feel like, yeah, a couple of their wins they've gotten lucky. To be fair, we've gotten lucky here and there as well, but they've that loss to Brentford really showed like, hey man, like if you if you game plan properly against them, they're beatable. Everybody's beatable, and so I think, yeah, they might have gotten the best player in the world right now, arguably, but yeah, there are rivals, and I think we can keep up with them. Um, and not only do I think we can keep up with them, like I think we can beat them. I feel like when we play them, we're going to get a win out of the two games. Who knows what happens in one of the other games, but I feel like we're going to get 3 points in one of them. So yeah, I think it's right now it's between us and Man City and Newcastle maybe could be like the third horse in the race. I don't know if they'll be able to keep up. Um, but yeah, I think it's our main rival right now is going to be Man City.
It's so nice to say that, bro. So nice.
Yeah, it's so cool to say it. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. So gonna ask you that question now. Difficult one. I know it's only 14 games gone. There's still a long way to go. But where do you think we can finish this season?
I'm gonna say at worst we finish second, right? I think we can finish top two. I think we're gonna have that momentum. Going with what I said earlier about me trusting Eddie. I trust Eddie, so I feel like we're gonna be able to maintain our run for a little bit until Jesus gets back. Hopefully, we pull somebody else in the transfer window. Hopefully, to kind of bolster that position, and hopefully we continue reaching towards our goals of pulling in these players that will fit right in and are ready to go, and we can continue pushing. Um, because I feel like, yeah, we could still chase for the title, and I think if we continue to do that, I think we can lock down 4, but I feel like we can aim high and finish top 2. So, City and Arsenal, we'll see what happens, right? But I think we got top 2. We're gonna get top 2. I'll say that.
Okay, so what's your top four prediction?
So, I'll say I'll fuck it. I'll say right now I feel like we can still win the title. I'll say Arsenal. I'll say City. Um, I think Newcastle will be the third team to get top 4, and then I think Tottenham is going to do their thing in Tottenham, right, and fail. Uh, I feel like United is going to get a boost, ironically, from dropping and distancing themselves from this Ronaldo mess. So I think they have like a nice little bounce. So I feel like it'll be the two Manchesters, Newcastle, and Arsenal, all top 4. But we'll say like Arsenal, City, Newcastle United, and then Manchester United.
Okay, bro, that'll be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So amazing to have a Premier League trophy back here. It's been so long. Let's hope we can
Yeah.
get it.
We'll see.
For sure. It's going to be great fun watching. What we can do is take it game by game. We've been saying that from the start of the season. Just keep focusing on ourselves. We know City are a team that are capable of winning 10 games in a row. Hopefully, they
Right.
don't go on them sort of runs this season. But even if they do, we've shown ourselves this season we're able to go on long runs of winning games. So just all we can do is focus on ourselves. And talking of focusing on ourselves, it's the next game. As Arteta always says, it's always the next game. We always hear this from managers, we're always just looking ahead to the next game, can't think too far ahead. So our next game is West Ham, Boxing Day. Not long, really looking forward to that. As I say, just a few days till that one now. So in terms of the lineup, it's looking like Martinelli and Saka will be playing. As we said, we played in a friendly today behind closed doors. They've been back in training, so they should be available. Saliba, not sure because he didn't play for France in the final. It was only a few days ago. I don't know if he'll be available. Hopefully, he will be. But it's looking like, apart from Jesus, because of his injury, it's going to be a full strength team for us. With West Ham, we know they're a difficult team. We've invested heavily in their team in recent seasons. We had a couple of good years, not so good this season, but it's going to be a dangerous team for us. After this break, we've had London Derby. They're going to be up for it. What's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I think it'll be. I think, as one of my friends said, like Boxing Day is going to be a shit show across the league. Like it's going to be, you know, teams maybe having some hangovers versus teams who are saying like, "Fuck it, like let's treat this like week 1, right? Match day 1. Let's start over. Let's move forward. There's an opportunity." So I feel like the West Ham team are going to be like that, right? Like right now they're 16th in the table, but now's an opportunity for them to just kind of start fresh and just make a new push, right? I think for us, I don't really follow West Ham a lot, so I don't know if maybe I don't. Who knows if they've had like a good or bad break. I feel for us, like we're gonna, we've gotten to the point. I love what Xhaka said. Granit Xhaka said two things that really stuck in my mind. Like he says, we're gonna back Eddie, we're gonna be behind him, and then he was real vocal about like not taking like a massive long break after Switzerland went out. And he's like, it sucks. I'll take a quick break, and then he goes, I'm right back with the team because we've got a job to do. So, he may not be wearing the armband on the field, but he's my captain. I have no disrespect to Odegaard, right? But like, I think he sets the tone. The fact that we saw Martinelli and Saka in there shows just kind of like, yeah, he is setting the tone. And so I think it's close early, but I think we pull away. I think it's something like 3-1. Um, but it's close, right? Like it's 1-1 at some point, and then we just kind of pull away. So that's what I feel about it. Um, and I hope I'm right because I want us to kind of come out of the gate firing. I don't see any reason not to. Like I think we've been good even in the friendlies. Although I haven't really watched any of the friendlies, but even the ones we lost, like Juventus, like from what I understand, we dominated possession. We dominated here. We're just couldn't score. We got a couple dumb own goals, but whatever. I'd rather us when it comes to friendlies and that. I'd rather us get those bad performances out of our system. Like that's what the friendlies are for, right? Like work through the kinks, just get it out of your system, get back in the flow. Like it's a wake up call. Like, hey, get it together, boys. So it's fine. I'm all good. I don't really care about results in finals unless we beat like someone like Chelsea in America, right? Like that's badass. But other than that, like just get them out of the way, play the games, get the minutes under your legs, and I think we're going to be good.
Yeah, bro. Let's hope we can get that win, continue where we left off before the international break. It's a busy period, as you know, Christmas, New Year period. A lot of games coming up. We've got some big games in January as well. We've got Tottenham and Man United coming up. So it's exciting times. Let's get that win against West Ham and get into a long run of winning games as we were doing before the international break. So as always, before we go, just going to ask you for some quick score predictions on some of the big games coming
Yeah,
up this week. Before I do that, though, I'm just having a quick look now. It's mad. The Carabao Cup games are going on. So from yesterday, today, and like tomorrow, Man City are playing Liverpool. And just seeing here, like Man United were playing tonight. They won 2-0.
yeah,
Brighton, who knocked us out in the last round, they lost on penalties to Charlton. And yeah, and Nottingham Forest, they beat Blackburn 4-1. So yeah, it's crazy. Imagine like just World Cup fish only a few days ago, right? Some of these teams that have a Carabao Cup, they're straight back in action today and yesterday and tomorrow for Liverpool and Man City. That's a big game as well. I don't know what they're going to do in terms of team selection. We've got obviously a bit longer break compared to us. So I think from what I remember, Man City are playing on Wednesday. We're playing Monday, but we're playing a couple of
yeah,
days because they got this game against Liverpool. So, again, it's a test of squads that we know how much depth for Man City having their squad, but still having to play Liverpool tomorrow night and then have the Premier League game next week. It's going to be challenging. There's that fatigue factor. Players just coming back from the World Cup. It is a condensed tournament World Cup. A lot of pressure in them games. So yeah, we have a lot of questions to answer. But as you said, in terms of the games coming up, we just don't know how teams are going to be. It's like it could be like the first game of the season for a lot of them. It's like a complete reset. Or do you carry on the form that you're in? The form book kind of goes out of the window. It's a difficult situation. We've never experienced anything like this. It's going to be
yeah.
interesting
It's
to
gonna be weird.
yeah, for sure, bro. So yeah, let me get some quick score predictions from you for some of the big games coming up next week. Then, so the first game on Boxing Day is Brentford versus Tottenham, the early kickoff.
Oh, and it's at Brentford. I'm gonna pick Brentford to kind of feel good about themselves, and they've got a lot of like none of really any of their players played in the World Cup. I feel like they're gonna be ready to go. Tottenham, they're gonna be Tottenham to start out. So I think I think they come out with a hangover. So I'm gonna go Brentford 2-1.
Okay, that'll be great. Come on,
Yeah,
Brentford.
yeah.
And Leicester City are playing against Newcastle.
I still don't believe very much in Leicester City. They've never really shown me anything to like show that they're going to be like any kind of team that might threaten anybody. I might be wrong, but I think Newcastle comes out. They're going to be a team that I'm afraid of them. So um, yeah, I think Newcastle comes out strong and wins 2-0.
Okay, Aston Villa versus Liverpool.
Villa, they're probably not going to have Emi Martinez at goal, right? I think Liverpool. I think they're going to benefit from like the game they got to play tomorrow, right? And they're going to have to like get up for it. And I think they're another team that might make a surge as well, although I think they'll eventually fall out of top four. So I'll say Liverpool wins, but I don't think it'll be that convincing. So we're gonna say another, we'll say like 2-1 as well.
Okay, and then the next day, Chelsea are playing against Bournemouth.
Bournemouth. Ooh. Uh I don't know. I don't feel that much that positive about Chelsea. So I think they draw with Bournemouth to come out. Very, very lackluster performance. I'm gonna say 1-1
Okay, and Manchester United are playing Nottingham Forest.
at home.
Yeah.
I think they win, but not convincingly. 1-0.
Okay, and then the last game for this round of Premier League fixtures is on the Wednesday, and it's Leeds United against Manchester City.
Leeds United. I'm gonna go full American here with the American coach, and they got American players on there. I'm gonna be pulling for Leeds on that one, and I hope they help us out, do us a solid. We'll, 2 days before that, we're gonna win 3-1, and I want to see Leeds United help us out and upset them. And I'm gonna say like 3-2. I want to see it happen.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be
No,
amazing. I'm gonna go
no,
out on a limb on that one.
so
The other ones, I feel very like confident about, like I'm being very conservative and chill. But now this one, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say like Leeds, do us a solid. Come on, boys, like let's go. Come on, Leeds.
we saw when we played against them, they got a good team there. They gave us real
Yeah,
depth
and
in the second half.
especially at home, man. Especially at home, and it's at night. Wednesday at 2 o'clock here, so that's what 8 there. Yeah, it's gonna be a primetime game. So here we go.
Come on, Leeds. Do you know what else is amazing? We could, hopefully, we should be, after beating West Ham, 8 points ahead of Man City by that point. So
Yeah,
that puts a lot of pressure on them as well. I know it's still early days aware, but still 8 points is a substantial lead. And if they were to get a loss there, coming out of this round of Premier League fixtures, would go 8 points clear. Imagine having a lead like that. It's 5 points is good, but eight's a substantial number.
hell yeah, man.
It's
Like I want full drama this first few weeks, man. Because yeah, I think there's just gonna be so much. City had a ton of players playing, and again, I think for me it comes down to like it's not necessarily physical, although there's gonna be some physical aspects, but mental, right? Like you just played in some, like a lot of these players just played in some of the biggest tournament, right? Biggest international tournament that there is, and then they got to come back and reset, and then get ready to just start another title run. So there's gonna be some upsets. There's gonna be some surprises, especially in these first early weeks, and I think that'll be one of the first ones. I hope, right? Like a City, yes, they got a lot of good players. A lot of them played in the World Cup. I feel like not all of them are going to be up to play, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, bro. It's going to be amazing. Looking forward to Premier League getting back underway. Looking forward to, as always, speaking to you on our weekly show, discussing it all. Hopefully, we keep them wins coming. I remember speaking to you before international break. We're like, we're nervous. We're doing so well, but we're like, no, we didn't want to think too far ahead. Same thing now. Obviously, still, we don't want to think too far ahead, but the position we're in is such a great opportunity. It's the best chance we've had in years to push for a Premier League title. Let's hope our boys can do it. Well, thanks for your time.
Always a pleasure, man. Looking forward to seeing what happens the next few days, and ready to get back in the things as far as chatting about Arsenal.
Yeah, bro. So yeah, that's all from us. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share.